Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real, and I'm your host, Bob Gallagher. Joining me in studio today is our very special real estate guest, Amy Balewicz from Keller Williams, Boston Northeast, and your office is in Concord, right, Amy?
Yes, it is.
Welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Our first show of the new year, so you're our first 2019 guest. Very exciting,
Happy New Year.
Yeah, how about that? Can you believe we're in another new year?
I can't.
I just got used to write in 2018, and I know I'm going to be doing it for like the next 3 months. So.
Yep.
So we asked you on to tell us about real estate in the areas you cover. So the areas you cover right now would be what? Concord to Bolton, down to the boroughs, and then up towards Westford, Littleton, and even some of the surrounding areas?
Yeah, that would be it.
Right.
Yep.
So what have you seen happening in real estate in your area in the last 12 months? So kind of give us an overview of 2018.
Yeah, so 2018 was a pretty crazy year. Definitely, a seller's market.
Yeah. Especially the first half of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very strong spring. Lots of multiple offer situations.
Mm-hmm.
And then, sort of slowed down towards the summer, picked up a little bit in the fall as it usually does. And it's actually been picking up quite a bit in December. So we're looking for another strong spring. Excellent.
And not having any snow so far. I feel like I should knock on wood when I say that.
Yeah, please. No snow.
What do we have? 3 or 4 inches in... Was it November? Yeah, we had a little bit at the beginning of November.
We had some in November, none in December, I don't think.
No, I did enjoy that. I really did. I kind of hope it stays. Although I think the last 2 times this happened, we ended up getting multiple feet in February. So
I think that was right when we were building my house a couple years ago.
Yes, it was. I remember that.
Yeah.
I probably should mention that we're actually neighbors.
Yes,
in
we
addition
are.
to doing business together. Yeah. So going back to what's going on in the market, we hear a lot about inventory being a problem, but it seems like it's improving at least a little bit. Would you say?
Yeah, I would say. For a normal market, you want about 6 months supply. We're still about at 3. So the inventory is low, but I think it's picking up. I think sellers are looking ahead, and this might be a year that they decide to list, which is what we're hoping.
Yeah. If you're waiting to find the top end of the market or getting somewhere near the top end of the market, it seems like the crazy increases are kind of gone. So now we're going to move towards...
Yes. Things are definitely leveling out, and they're talking about a shift in the market towards the buyer having the upper hand. So if you're looking to sell, this would be the year.
Yeah, so don't wait.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it seems like maybe towards the end of last year, people that had been on the fence for a while were finally ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why things got busy. It was kind of crazy. It slowed down in September when it typically gets busy. And then all of a sudden, the end of October, everybody wanted to buy again. It was
right. I mean, people are always going to be looking to sell and buy. I think buyers, kind of got discouraged in the spring with all the multiple offers and losing out on homes that they wanted. But now I think, we're going to see a little bit less of that. And hopefully, buyers will be in a better position.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we all did see a lot of that. When you're making offers on 5, 6, 10 houses and not getting anything accepted, I mean, that's got to be horribly discouraging.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
It gets to the point where why even bother looking,
Absolutely.
But it does seem like that's starting to level out again. And, some people in the news have been making it sound all doom and gloom, like the end is coming, and I don't really see that happening.
No, I don't see that happening either.
No, it seems like really things are normalizing.
Yes, which is good for both buyers and sellers.
Right. So prices are still going to appreciate, but at a slower pace, which honestly is the best thing for everybody.
Absolutely.
We want everybody that wants to be able to sell, and everybody that wants to be able to buy. It doesn't really help any of us. I mean, if you're a seller who's going to move somewhere and rent, I guess it really works out for you if it's a crazy strong seller's market.
But anybody, moving up, selling up, they're going to, get a good price for their house and also maybe get a good deal on the other end.
Right. So it's really going back to a balanced market.
Yes.
That's good. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Now, if the snow will just hold off, maybe we could have a really, really early spring. And it wouldn't be bad if the weather was warm too, but I don't want to get greedy. I'll just take no snow.
Right. Well, a lot of sellers think, they're going to list in the spring, which typically is March through May is your biggest time. But I always encourage sellers to get out there as soon as they're able to, because less competition,
right?
End of January through February.
That's a very good point. Why list your house when everybody's going to list theirs?
Absolutely.
Get a jump on it. List now.
Yep.
Actually, you know what? That's a great segue. So I'm going to give out your contact information. It's Amy Balewicz from Keller Williams, Boston Northeast. You can reach her on her cell, 617-283-5642. Again, it's 617-283-5642. Amy Balewicz with Keller Williams, Boston Northeast. If you're looking to buy or sell anywhere from Concord to Bolton, down to the boroughs and up to Westford, Littleton, and even the surrounding areas from there, Amy's the person to give you a hand with the transaction.
Yes, absolutely.
So talking a little bit about move-up buyers, because that's mostly what you dealt with during 2018.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think it was that finally pushed people to list their houses? Because a lot of people, it seemed like that was the biggest issue we had, is people that were in the starter homes or the lower range homes wouldn't sell because the houses they wanted to move to were either too expensive or too scarce.
Yes.
What do you think finally convinced them to take the risk?
Well, I think they saw, people were getting good price for their house.
Right.
It was a great time to sell. So, they decided to take the plunge. We had a lot of conversations with the clients that I did help list that were looking to buy another house about, if they did sell their house and they couldn't find something else, what, were the other options for them, such as renting or moving in with a family member. So there were other options for them. But we all, together, decided that selling their house, getting the best price they could, would be the best thing to do. And
then just deal with the buying on the other side.
Yes.
But it ended up working out.
Luckily it did.
Yeah.
Both, all my clients, were able to find something and transition smoothly.
That's excellent. That's always good to hear. So why don't we talk about how you prep your sellers when they're getting ready to list their home for sale? What's the process?
So the process is, sort of a two-step listing consultation process. Usually I come to the house, take a look around, make some notes, and then come up with a market analysis and plan for them. So that would include, any type of staging they need to do, any repairs that I feel should be done prior to listing the house. And then when all those things are ready, I bring a stager in, photographer, and then we come up with a good marketing plan that includes, brochures as well as any kind of social media marketing. And that's pretty much the process. And then throughout the process, we kind of touch base with like monthly or weekly meetings to kind of see how things are going, see if any price adjustments need to be made. So that's typically the process.
And are people that are selling right now, are they being more realistic with the price that they have in mind, or are they still under the impression that they're going to get the crazy numbers that people were seeing in the beginning of
I
feel
year? That they still kind of see the market, in the seller's corner, which, is somewhat true, but I definitely think that buyers are a little more savvy. They saw that it was sort of the peak of the market and they're not really willing to buy at that high, looking for, to get a little bit of a better deal. So I think we're going to be starting to see a little bit more realistic pricing.
Right. We were talking actually a couple weeks ago, and I'm not going to give the address out or anything, but there's a house that sold about a mile away from our neighborhood, and it's a nice house, but it was put in on a terrible lot, frankly. Just a weird positioning of the house, weird lot overall. And they priced it about $50,000 to $75,000 above what you'd pay going into a new subdivision for new construction. And I was shocked when I saw the price, and I thought, wow, if they get that price for that house, I'm probably going to have to list mine.
And they didn't.
They didn't even come close. They ended up selling it for $220,000 less than where they started.
Yes.
And I think that's, we were talking about this earlier. That's a mistake that some people tend to make. They figure, what's the harm in listing high? I can always go down. But wouldn't you say that oftentimes when people start high, they end up getting less than they would have if they started out at a more reasonable number?
Yes, that's definitely true. And that's when using a realtor is important, because they look at comps, they know the market, and you kind of can have a discussion on, where should you be priced? You want to be priced in the market, where you'll be able to sell with the least amount of time at the best price.
Right.
And if your house is going to sit overpriced in the long run, buyers see that and they expect a bargain.
Right. And that's why, if I could interject, that's why if you're thinking about selling and you're looking at hiring agents, you got to hire somebody that's full-time like Amy, somebody that's got a background, somebody that's got experience, somebody that can tell you what you need to know, somebody that can give you the right advice. If you've got a price in mind and that's the price you want, then why even listen to what the realtor's telling you? I mean, if a realtor comes in and says you can get $750 for this house, why do you want to list at $850?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like somebody's just going to walk by and say, "Ooh, I love the color of that house. It's worth an extra $100,000 to me to have it." I mean, if you're going to take the time and go to the expense of hiring an agent, which I believe is well worth it, then you need to take their advice. That's what you're paying them for.
Right.
So if the agent says this should be our pricing strategy, that's what you should go with.
Yeah. And our job is not only always to, do what you want to hear,
right,
but what's important to get your house sold.
Right. What you need to hear.
What you need to hear.
Yeah. I mean, that's why you pay a professional.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, you want to give Amy Balewicz a call. Boston Northeast office of Keller Williams, 617-283-5642. Again, it's 617-283-5642. Why don't we talk about common mistakes that people should avoid when buying or selling?
Common mistake.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the biggest ones we kind of just talked about was pricing strategy.
Yes, overpricing for sure.
Yeah. And then on the buy side, if you're a buyer.
On the buyer side, I think unrealistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
What I always say is make a list of your needs and your wants. And if you can find something that hits, most of your needs and a few of your wants, then, you've probably found something good.
Yes.
And, I think as things sort of shift towards a buyer's market, some people might want to come in and just kind of lowball sellers. But it's important for you to think about the sellers, think about what their needs are, and sort of come somewhere where you meet in the middle and can have a discussion.
Right. Right. Because if you start off with an insulting offer, chances are the discussion is not ever going to happen. They're just going to reject that
offer. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes it difficult. There's something else we should probably mention too, especially for first-time buyers. Something we've seen a lot more of lately is people that are buying houses to rehab. Not to rehab and flip, but to buy, rehab, and live in.
Yep.
People that have, a little bit tighter of a budget. You can get into some of these more expensive towns if you're willing to take on a rehab project. I mean,
absolutely.
If anybody watches HGTV, which I'm sure everybody listening probably does, I mean, you can do a lot with a house without spending a fortune. I mean, updating a kitchen and a bathroom or even adding a bathroom, it's not like you're talking about six figures to do that.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff you can do to turn a house that's old and dated into something super desirable. But if you're willing to go through the headache of doing it, you save a lot of money.
And that's a very important thing to bring up, because I feel a lot of buyers that I've been working with are, new. They want everything new, everything
Yes.
move-in condition. And if you have a budget for that, that's great. But if you don't, I always say, let's look at some things that may not be exactly what you want now, but have potential.
Right.
And I think that's very important for people to keep in mind.
Right. Absolutely. Why don't we talk too about home buyer seminars? I know you've done a few in the past. We've done a few as well. We're going to be coming out with a schedule in the next few weeks of home buyer seminars. Let's talk a little bit about, what people could expect from a home buyer class.
Yeah, so when I do a home buyer seminar, I like to come in. I don't have a big PowerPoint presentation or anything like that, but I like it to be a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Me talking about the market, you talking about interest rates and answering questions. A lot of people have misconceptions about what's going on. And so it just sort of prepares people. A lot of people that come to our first time home buyer seminars are renters. Mm-hmm. So we, like to give them rent versus buy analysis so that they can really see that, you don't have to put 20% down to buy a house.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm still amazed that with how easily information is available, like on Google or anything else, that there's still so many people that think you have to have perfect credit and 20% down or you can't buy a house.
Yep, absolutely. And so that's, we just want to educate them on that so that, maybe you're thinking you can't buy a house when you actually can.
Right. Right, and that's one of the important things. So there's all sorts of programs out there. There are programs available that don't require any down payment. They're a little tougher to qualify for, and there are exclusions as far as you can't make above a certain amount of money, and there are some towns or cities that you can't use the product for. But FHA financing is relatively easy to qualify for if you have decent credit, and decent means typically scores that are above 600, 620 in that range and up. You can put as little as 3.5% down. It can be a gift from a family member, as long as you've got stable employment history and a decent income. Why would you want to rent when you could own? In a lot of cases, when you look at putting down first, last, and security, it's not a heck of a lot more to come up with a down payment.
Right.
And then you get a seller credit to pay closing costs and escrows.
Yes.
So it's not a huge difference between.
And whenever I talk to buyers, obviously the first thing I tell them to do is talk to a lender.
Yeah.
And look at your options.
Yeah.
Get
absolutely.
Pre-qualified and things like that.
Well, that's where it starts. First you get pre-qualified. You find out you can actually afford to make the payment every month. You find out what you're qualified to buy in terms of purchase price and what you're going to need as far as money out of pocket to make the deal happen. And once you've got all that stuff in place, then you go out and find the house. I don't want to say your dream house, because most people their first house is not going to be their dream house. Not going to be
their dream house.
But that's an important thing to note. I mean, it's going to be yours, and that alone is going to make it seem like the nicest house around.
Yep.
The fact that it's your house. But it's how you build equity. It's how you get to the next level. It's how you get to the mid-sized colonial with a 2-car garage.
Yep.
My first house was a ranch, 1,092 square foot ranch in Lawrence.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, in Lawrence. It was on the Andover line, so it didn't seem like Lawrence.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful area.
Yep.
And it appreciated super fast. I mean, I paid $125,000 when I bought it, and I thought that was probably on the high side. And then 3 years later, people were paying $250 for the same house. So, getting into a house is the important thing.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the Taj Mahal.
Right. And a lot of my buyers are move-up buyers, so that they did come into the town for the school system or for whatever reason, love it and want to stay there, but want to move up after they've had a few children. So that I do see a lot of that and in my areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show with us, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to give out your contact info again. It's Amy Balewicz, Keller Williams, Boston Northeast, 617-283-5642. Again, it's 617-283-5642. We'd love to have you back on the show soon, and thanks for being the first guest of 2019.
Thank you for having me, Bob. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Get Real after this.